everyone. Welcome to The Download, where we bring you discussion and analysis from a Catholic perspective. Today is Thursday, June the 1st, 2023. It's the start of Pride Month, or if you're not a degenerate pervert, the month of the Sacred Heart. I'm Simon Rafe, here with my two co-hosts, Kopy and Brad Eli. Good to have you with us, gentlemen.
Simon.
And joining us today as our fourth host, he complains when we say he's the guest host, is David Gordon. He's on here more often than our commercials, I think. How you doing, Dave? You good?
Doing very well, Simon.
Excellent. Good, good. Boycotts and protests. We've seen several prominent boycotts in recent months as people resist the LGBT agenda taking over the corporate world. We're going to be talking about that. But first, a kind of an anti-boycott. This episode is not sponsored, but my coffee is. It's very nice coffee. We received this kind gift from the Eximus Coffee Company. That's E-X-I-M-I-U-S. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They are a Catholic-owned company who have been making coffee since 1925. They have sent us this. Three of us here have coffee, and I think we all like it. You'd like it, Dave? It was good. Everyone likes the coffee.
Good
Brad
pot.
didn't have any coffee. He says he's an old man and can't drink coffee past about 10 o'clock in the morning, lest it keep him up all night. So there you go. Anyway, thank you very much, Eximus Coffee Company, for sending us this fine coffee there. If other people wish to send us their goods and things, we will happily feature them on The Download. Again, not a sponsorship. Somebody just sent us this thing very kindly. There you go. Anyway, when talking about boycotts and so forth, first we're going to start off talking with our special guest, Alexander Carzon, about a protest against the LA Dodgers. Hey, Alex, tell us more about this.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. So Catholics with this Dodgers thing, we're ticked. This is obviously a bridge too far. And so not just Church Militant, but a coalition of Catholic organizations have put together and are sponsoring a Prayerful procession to the Dodgers Stadium. And this includes Church Militant, Catholics for Catholics, America Needs Fatima, Tradition Family Property, as well as Virgin Most Powerful Radio, Terry and Jesse. And so this is all of us coming together as faithful Catholics, as people of goodwill, and saying, look, we don't want any of this. We don't want it in our sports. We don't want it in our town. We don't want it anywhere near us. Just leave us alone. And so if you're looking to actually make your voice heard, go out and do something, I encourage you to be part of this procession coming up here.
Yeah, because of course this is the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, as they call themselves, kind of this, ridiculous drag act or whatever they are, who have been invited by the LA Dodgers, who are one of the baseball teams out there in Los Angeles. I am told that there is a second baseball team in LA. It's the Angels, but I don't know if what is their batting average? I don't think it's very good. But anyway, they cancelled and then they were reinstated because there was a protest, and now there's another protest here. So, Alex, when is this happening and what is happening? These are the key things people need to know.
Yes, yeah. So June 16th, which is Friday, June 16th, is when this is all going down at the game. And so we're going to be arriving at the LA Cathedral, the Cathedral of Our Lady Queen of Angels, before the game actually takes place at 4:30 p.m. and we're going to process over outside Dodger Stadium itself so that we can catch people, going in. There's only a couple entrance points there, so we want to be going into traffic, seeing people as they drive by. They'll be seeing us there, and we'll make our presence known.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how can people get registered to get involved with this and all this sort of stuff? Where can they get more information?
Yes, yeah. If you go to our main Church Militant website and you click on the tab that says Resistance, on our Resistance website there is this flyer, this image here. And if you click on that image, that takes you to a website that gives you all the details about this procession. You can download this flyer, pass it out to people at your parishes. Ask your parish priest, hey, can I make an announcement about this upcoming here in California that's going on? Because this is us making our voice heard. So we want everybody to know about this. Spread it through social media, but also spread it in the Los Angeles area locally there. That's how we're going to have the biggest impact.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Alex.
Alex, I have a question. Can you go over the date again, exactly when this event is?
Yes, yeah, June 16th.
Okay, that's the Feast of the Sacred Heart.
Correct.
Why is all of this taking place? What exactly is taking place that we're protesting on the Feast of the Sacred Heart?
Yes, yeah. So originally the invite that was given to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and then was rescinded and then given back again was to give them an award. honoring them, and they make a complete mockery of the Catholic faith in its entirety. Horrible, blasphemous things, and it's doing what the demonic does. They take something that is good, that is sacred, that is holy, and they invert it and they perverse it.
And when is that honoring supposed to be taking place?
During the game itself. I believe it's either before the game or during
on the 16th.
On the 16th, yes.
The Feast of the Sacred Heart.
Yes.
All month they could have done this, and they chose in the Pride month of June. They chose the 16th, the Friday, which is the Feast of the Sacred Heart. That specific day, the Dodgers are going to be honoring this group.
Yes.
That's amazing. Let's take a look at this group for a minute. These sisters are quite the group. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. They go back to 1979. They were founded in Iowa City, but then they moved since then to San Francisco, and they've continually had decades of anti-Catholic, pro-LGBT agitation. And this is more of that. The Feast of the Sacred Heart itself, on the 16th, is the day they're chosen to be honored by the Dodgers. That just seems to be beyond the pale, that very day, and that's what all the good people will be protesting. Right. Standing up for the Sacred Heart, standing up for our Lord Jesus, who's actually wounded in the Sacred Heart for these people, died for those very people who are in this community, as well as all of us. And I just can't believe that very day that this group would choose to be honored, the day that we set aside, Catholics set aside to honor the Sacred Heart.
Right, yeah, and it just shows that they're being deliberate. This isn't just we want to be tolerant and accepting. This is a specific slap in our faces to Catholics to say, we know what is sacred to you, we know what is important to you, and we're going to go out of our way to perverse it, to blaspheme it. And so this is where we have to put our foot down and say, no, we're not going to let you do that. They're on the offensive. They're attacking us. So why are we just sitting back and letting it happen?
Of making this more confessional than it actually is. It's not anti-Catholic just, right? These people are anti-Christian. They're anti-Christ. They're anti-God. They mock Christ. They have hunky Jesus competitions. They mock the Stations of the Cross, right? Why is this being framed as strictly anti-Catholic, which makes it seem more like an issue of bigotry than it is an issue of blasphemy?
Well, I would say for one, in Los Angeles, there's a massive the Catholic population in Los Angeles is a big one, and so for the people that are speaking out against this, they're taking it as specifically an anti-Catholic thing. But overall, it is, like you talked about, this is a violation of natural law. Is what this comes down to when you break it down to the fundamentals of it. So it is a good unifying purpose for us all. Everybody can understand that this is wrong and that this is horrible. So it's a good rallying call for all of us to come together and put our foot down on these people. But I would say from the Catholic perspective, because the Catholic Church has had such prominence throughout Western civilization, and again going to Los Angeles specifically, the Catholic angle of that is what's going to be identified, but it's not the only thing. Every person of goodwill should be upset by this. Every person of goodwill should be willing to go out here and stand against this.
And Alex, as you mentioned, the Los Angeles area has a sizable population of Catholics. I think it's something around 6 million Catholics. So it just begs the question, how many of those will actually come out in support of what we're promoting here, this walk of reparation, these prayers of reparation for the blasphemous acts from these so-called sisters? That's what I want to know is, number one, how many of the lay Catholics are going to come out and do this? I know we have just a couple weeks here to kind of promote it. Hopefully as many people can get out as they can. And then secondly, where are the bishops on all this? Where is the Diocese of LA? Where is the neighboring Diocese of Orange? It took some of them days to issue a statement. Bishop Jose Gomez, I'm thinking of one. Bishop Barron even made a statement about it. And Barron, if you remember a couple of years ago with the whole statue of Junipero Serra being pulled down, he's like, well, that's the laity. We don't have anything to do with that. That's not our realm. That's your realm. So what would you say to the laity in the public realm? How would you encourage them to come out to this event?
Ultimately, I think I will just say the words of Archbishop Fulton Sheen, which it's up to the laity to save the church, but it's not just up to the laity to save the church, it's up to the laity to ensure that our priests act like priests and our bishops act like bishops. You as the laity should be, again, talking to your priests, encouraging them to promote things like this. You know, talking to your bishop, saying, why aren't we putting out a stronger statement about this? Why are things not being done? Because we've all got to, it's got to be all guns a-blazing with this. We can't, nobody can just sit on the sidelines and say, oh, we put out a little statement here, or, you know, this or that. It's got to be everybody comes collectively together and does something against this.
You know, Alex, I think a lot of times this is framed as, oh, you know, you can do something extra. You can march for this cause. And people are like, I don't want to do something extra. I'm good. I'm busy. I think we really need to frame this. We need to have a complete new perspective on this. Catholics in Los Angeles, you're duty bound to do something. You're staring down diabolical evil. They're mocking our Lord. They're mocking the living God of this universe. And the Catholics in Los Angeles can't be bothered to get out in mass and make a showing of force in the streets against such perversion and wickedness. It's pathetic. Everybody who's watching has a duty to do something. No one in America can sit and do nothing. You have a moral duty to act in the face of reckless evil.
I agree with everything you said. Amen. If not now, then when? Is what I say. If not now, then when? It's got to be now.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. I understand that the organizers are wanting people to wear red, if they can, in order to honor the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So obviously, I think, you know, hey, it is going to be summer, or just to a tail end of spring. Summer won't quite have hit, I think, but it will still be very hot in Los Angeles. So obviously, wear red and take cool water, etc., 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 but be there. As Dave said, I don't think there's a single excuse for any Catholic within the Los Angeles area. I get it. It's Los Angeles. It's half an hour to drive, 2 blocks. I get it. It's a difficult thing. But it's a Friday. You've got a couple of weeks. Organize, plan, take the day off work, do this, make that sacrifice. If you've got to cut your vacation a bit short, if you've got to do something like this, make that sacrifice to turn up and do this. The more people that we have turning up, the more support that this has. That there will be people who will turn up because they're the same people who always do turn up. It's always the same people in every city, in every parish, in every organization. It's the same people who are turning up. We need everyone to turn up for this. If you are in the Los Angeles area, if you can get to Los Angeles, take your time off, go to this protest. Again, Alex, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
All right, boycotts in general. Right, I've got to say, I like our anti-boycott. This is a nice cup of coffee. I will go out on a limb and say this is a good cup of coffee, and I'm happy with this, because normally it's like kind of Folgers, which I've nothing against Folgers. I don't know. Have they gone woke? They've probably gone woke, haven't they?
I don't know. Yeah.
Everyone's gone woke these days.
Folgers is canceling their church militant endorsement right now.
It's like, I mean, we buy so much Folgers coffee, we should have bought stock. But these Xmas coffee people, I'm not just saying because they're selling it for free. I mean, because I'm not sponsored. It's just a very nice cup of coffee. But Catholic company, so obviously you can be supporting the Catholic companies, but there are many companies out there that are really very anti-Catholic, anti-Christian, as you said, Dave. So what do we think about the boycotts?
The one here, we're just cleaning up after Alex's presentation there. When we were talking about why is this seen as a Catholic thing, I believe the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
They're not real sisters, Brad.
I get it.
Okay.
But they themselves have made it a Catholic thing. Now, natural law applies. All of us are, and all Christianity should be enraged. But the fact, the stamping on this is the play, first of all, Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. We have the Sisters of Perpetual Adoration and honoring our Sacred Heart and Eucharistic Adoration. They played on that already.
Yeah.
That's not from the Protestant world, and that certainly isn't from the natural law world. That's from them stamping it, saying, we're poking the finger at your religious orders that honor Christ's Sacred Heart and the Blessed Sacrament.
And the way that they were dressed is obviously a parody of a traditional Catholic
there you go. So
nun's habit.
Another iteration. And the third one, the fact that they will target the day of the 16th of June when Catholics, not Methodists, not Anglicans, not Episcopalians in America, but Catholics have identified that day and that day alone as the day that we honor Christ's Sacred Heart. And everybody and their dog is writing about how, you know, homosexuality and all that is going against the Corpus Christi, the body of Christ, and specifically against the Sacred Heart and the humanity of Christ and all that. And that play in the month of June, a lot of people see that dynamic right there. And to actually go and say they themselves have said, this is how we're marking this, with mock sisters, mock name, on the 16th, when you're honoring the Sacred Heart, we're being honored by the Dodgers. To me, they're the ones that are calling all the identity to Catholics, not us Catholics projecting ourselves as, oh, we're the warriors standing up alone for Christ.
Rebuttal, though. Let me give the rebuttal, because everybody knows, well, the demons in hell, Satan knows that the Catholic Church is the true church.
Right.
So, of course, it's going to train its fire, the powers of hell, on the Catholic Church. That's just the default. No one cares about the failing mainline Protestant denominations. Evil knows what the church is that Christ established, and it wants to disrespect that church the most. But I'm not offended because I'm offended at it as a Catholic, of course, on this lower level. Like, yes, this is the true church. It ought not be mocked. But far greater than mocking it on this lateral level, you know, person to person, is the mockery of the divine, which goes vertically. God is higher than man, and God deserves more glory and honor and plaudits than man. Therefore, the issue to me becomes, you know, the smaller issue was swallowed by the bigger one. And the bigger issue is no one mocks Christ in my town. No one mocks the divine in my town. And we got to cast these nauseating perverts out of town on their rear.
I don't think any of the Catholics there who are protesting or will be protesting in 2 weeks on Friday are actually saying, we're standing up for the church because you insulted us as a bloc. No, they're going there to defend Christ. It was just the fact that where's the Catholic identity in that? Well, the sisters that keep calling it to a Catholic identity, whether it's actually channeled from their father of lies, you know, who actually knows the true church. Very good point there. But he's the one that's sending the signals out there, and they're picking up or channeling those signals, and they're the ones identifying this as Catholic. Certainly our Lord belongs to everyone. He died for all. And certainly all of us should be standing up for him. But those Catholics there, they're not going to be saying, because you offended me or my church or my Elks Club or I'm a lion or whatever.
Well, it is interesting because, of course, what you have is sitting and listening to both of you. You've got the situation that does seem quite, you know, specific. To somebody from outside, this could seem as quite a specific issue. It's like, oh, these people are just kind of making fun of the Catholic Church, but you know, and if you're a nominal Christian, a soi-disant Christian, who is okay with transgenderism and drag queens and homosexuality and this sort of stuff, you're not going to care about this issue. Interestingly, though, however, there are a lot of people out there of goodwill who have been engaging in various boycotts and protests, and there have been two recently which have been really quite successful in certain ways. One of them, I think we've actually discussed both of them here. One, of course, is the Bud Light boycott. You know, and I don't know if really describing it as a boycott, because a boycott kind of implies some sort of centralized organization. I think it was just a bunch of, you know, guys saying, I want to get a little tanked tonight, and I don't fancy doing it with tranny suds. And to be honest with you, that's probably like a thing. And so they've gone and they've bought Coors, or they've bought Miller, or they've bought whatever. And same with Target. You know, obviously the initial boycott some years ago with Target was, I, as a woman, you know, I'm not a woman, but imagine that I was. I, as a woman, I have soft skin and a high voice, and I do not want to go into the bathroom and be confronted by a man who could, you know, me or whatever. And so women said, I'm not going to be shopping at Target, and most of the Target demographic is women. Now, of course, it's because of all these transgender swimsuits and stuff that seem to be directed at people. Again, people
Tuck friendly.
It's not even a thing. But what's happening there, of course, is people are saying, I'm not buying Bud, I'm going to go get some other disposable light beer. I'm not going to Target, I'm going to go to some other big box store and buy my Chinese garbage. And that's the reality. The question, again, one question I have, can this Dodgers boycott actually work? Are people going to say, I'm not going to not go to the Dodgers and I'm going to start supporting the Angels?
How many people actually go to the Dodgers anyways? I don't follow baseball. I don't know how well they're doing in their particular region, league, or whatever. I don't know how many people are there. And think of now the situation where if you are a baseball fan, we have the Detroit Tigers here. Maybe I'll take my kids to an occasional game. Do I now, as a parent, have the dilemma of having to do the research on that? Say, hey, is it Pride Night tonight? Can I actually take my kids to the thing and not have these degenerate, disordered people being paraded out during halftime? And I have to, take my kids away from that. Do I have to research before I buy tickets now? That's my question.
The thing that's really impacted me over the last just few years, I don't know, you guys might know if it's farther back than that, but sports going woke. I mean, it started with Colin taking a knee or not taking a knee.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick. Yep.
And all of that just kept going on and on and on. It was almost no longer about who's the best football player or who's the best team.
Hint, not Colin Kaepernick.
Okay.
Very mediocre.
We're not hiring you because you're because you're woke. We're not hiring you, period, because you can't throw. But the thing is, where did all that have to come by? Why did that all have to come into sports? The manliness that should be there, our youth should see, and I mean there's the over-commercialization of sports. That's a whole conversation, and their celebrity status, and what do they have to do with talking about anything? I get all that. But there's still supposed to be a manliness to sports, We'll go to our site, look for Trey Brock, okay? He's our icon of manly sport man. And
professional
sportsman, And the thing is, played sports in multiple countries. Let's just put it that way.
He's out there right now. Yeah, in Italy is Trey. I think he's coming back shortly. He was out there in Italy actually teaching American football to Italians.
He's playing.
And he's playing too, yeah.
So the idea that does all sports have to go woke? And here's just another iteration. I didn't really realize, football was a big thing. Now it's in baseball. It just keep perpetuating. It seems like all the time NBA comes out with something about wokeness and China stuff. You had a funny thing earlier today, Dave. If there's a boycott, can't there be a girlcott? And that's the level of mentality we're at today, where people get triggered about everything. Well, there's a boycott, there should be a girlcott. And when we're on that level of pandemic thought, it's just. It's bad.
Listen, the fundamental question that Simon posed is, can a Dodgers boycott be successful? And this is where we on the right, as Christians, need to completely rethink what we've been doing and what we've been trained to do. The conventional wisdom is wrong. Everybody loathes, all Christian men, the soldier class, we all loathe being pandered and condescended to with the way now Christian activism is framed. It needs to be muscular. It needs to be broad-shouldered. It needs to be not all about being nice and inclusive and using a tone that literally only appeals to like elderly church women. And that's why you don't see the boots on the ground. We are speaking and protesting and engaging in activism in a tone that is not compelling to people. And so that's problem number one. We're not getting people, we're not making ourselves attractive to the people we actually need to lead basically a revolution, which is always on the backs of young men. Second of all, we don't understand, and we all mock guys like Barack Obama. Oh, community organizer, that means you didn't have a job. But you actually have to organize in order for boycotts and protests to work. Grassroots runs out of steam quickly. You might have the spark of activation energy for the whole experiment to start going, for the whole chemical process to start going, the reaction to start generating, but then it runs out of steam unless more is added to the system, unless more fuel is added to the fire. It will end. Yeah, it's got to be sustained. It's got to be centralized. And we need this. We need people organizing, banding together, putting their funds together, and putting their brains together and donating their time also in order to keep these things going. If it's just like you're counting on your fornicating, twice divorced, neighbor who doesn't know right where he stands on like critical race theory in schools, if you're counting on those deadbeats to show up and to have some moment of moral courage and clarity and to really speak up, like this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I know the sleeping giant has awoken. No phrase has been absolutely used against us as much as the notion that the sleeping giant has awoken in America, and all these degenerates who don't know that contraception and abortion are wrong. You think you're going to count on them to get really riled up because somebody wants to misuse their sexuality in a way that's different from how a lot of straight Americans misuse their sexuality?
And I think you've tapped into something like really important there. You were talking, Brad, about when did sports go woke? I would kind of say, okay, this woke is kind of it's like the infamous thing from the Supreme Court justice about pornography or erotica or whatever it was. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. And of course, it's very difficult to define woke, but we all know it when we see it. But there is a larger band of just like bad stuff. There is a larger thing of just bad stuff, and Dave kind of tapped into that there when he said, okay, so these people are misusing their sexual function in a way that is just kind of different from the way you're misusing your sexual function. You kind of have a problem with it, Mr. Contracepting, Mr. Adultering, Mr. Fornicating, et cetera, et cetera. You're here and you're upset, that two girls are together when you're sitting there and you're on your third wife. It's like, guys, this is ridiculous. And the same way as like sports, when did sports get woke? When did sports become degenerate? I would want to say when did we first start throwing balls around? When did we first start throwing balls around, and when did we start paying people vast amounts of money to do that? So you've got people who were, they were going around. Tiger Woods had a string of blondes longer than they had on The Price is Right. That was Tiger Woods' whole thing, and he was like, the greatest golfer ever. Some sort of divine figure yoked into power on the green. That was him. And he was going around doing that. How many baseball players and football players have engaged in this kind of fornication? How many football players are infamous for going out, getting a skinful and, clocking their girlfriends, and all of these things? How many times have we looked at somebody and gone, oh yeah, no, he's a fine, upstanding family man. It's like, oh, but now he's divorced and now he's on some other sort of thing. The sports industry was always about, you were talking about the commercialization. It was the commercialization and the promotion of this and the promotion of dangerous, unhealthy behaviors and so forth. I wouldn't say, when did sports get woke? I would say, when did celebrities get degenerate? And I would kind of say, when did we start having celebrities? That would be, and I think this is the thing, for the boycott thing, it's like, why are we engaging with these people on that level? Why are we interested in what they're saying? And why are we reacting to it with this thing of, oh, this company I've got to boycott. The Dodgers we've got to boycott. It's like, really, your sports team is so much better, Well, whether boycotts can be successful or not, it seems like we're having a track record established with Bud Light losing billions, Target at $12 billion right now. And I don't really think that the movement necessarily with the manliness in the approach is actually moving the needle there at all. It's really just dollars. When you pull dollars away, stop going to Dodgers games, stop supporting anything Dodgers, and look at how much money they're going to have to pay their multi-million-dollar salaries out there with. And it was kind of like with the bishops. What moves a bishop? Well, lawsuits and bad press, okay? And the lawsuits and bad press here come down to dollars. Both of them come down to dollars. Less dollars in the pews, or lawsuits are less dollars. Bad press gets people stirred up and coming out. So that idea with regard to bad press and lawsuits comes down to this idea of boycotts. And they are seemingly successful. This last month has been very successful.
Well, time out. We got to look at this in the long run, because I think we're so demoralized and used to getting absolutely pwned as conservatives and losing the culture wars that we see. Oh, Bud Light's taken a 1-month hit to its profits, and we start like walking around puffing our chests and like flexing on people like booyah. Like, they don't care. It's a giant, like, million or billion dollar corporation. They don't care. They'll weather the storm. What they're doing is looking in the long run, and they're looking at things like BlackRock and Larry Fink, who's tying capital investment and funding to what their social credit score is. So we think that, oh, we're going to make them take this momentary hit, and then, we're going to forget and start thinking about who won American Idol or whatever trash people think is entertaining now. they'll be talking about the latest movie, and we'll forget because we don't have the discipline to keep this going. Meanwhile, Bud Light's fine. It weathered the storm, it sweeps this under the rug, and now it's going to wait. It'll bide its time, wait for this to cool off. They'll talk to their PR people, they'll talk to their crisis management people, and then, a year down the line, nothing has changed, mind you, in corporate culture or corporate ideology. A year down the line, they'll start it up again, and they might do it in a way that won't needle the
So what's
the
your
dead
solution?
Well, the solution is they need to be made to die. And I mean that corporately. I don't mean that that's not a death threat, YouTube censors. I mean, we need to make an example of these companies, of the worst offenders. It's not just we do this for a couple months. It means we need to make them, seriously, don't shop there anymore, ever again. Take the pledge. I will never buy another Budweiser product ever again as long as I live, and the company needs to go under, and then everybody else needs to be made afraid. Same with Target.
Well, here's kind of the problem with that. Now, I agree that what you actually get is you get to the thing where you've got like conservatives, for want of a better word, and it's like, okay, we all take the pledge, we're never going to buy another Anheuser-Busch product. That's fine. Anheuser-Busch was already losing money hand over fist. They were losing market share. Bud Light was just dying on the vine, and the whole thing was, unless we turn something around, there will be no Bud Light. That was the thing. This has just kind of accelerated the process. The point is you can go to your local off license, you can go to your local 7-Eleven or whatever, and in the cooler next to the unsold cans of Bud Light and the Miller that is flying off the shelves, there is some overly hopped local IPA made by a guy with a straggly beard and a bunch of gauges in his ears. He manages to sustain his company selling this very specific little niche product because there are always going to be people who want to buy it. Now, Bud Light and the rest of the Anheuser-Busch family are this just kind of essentially standard, relatively inoffensive American lagers. That's what they are. That's what they do. There is more than enough market out there for people who do not care about the culture wars or who are on the other side of the culture wars to sustain them. If you're talking about destroying the company, that is mathematically impossible. What you can do, however, I think the conservatives, and this is kind of where I would come back to it on a spiritual perspective, that is buying a product you're supposed to be boycotting, is buying Bud Light once it's got, Dylan Mulvaney's, grinning pseudo girl face slapped on it. If you're buying that, you are committing a sin. Is that a transgression against the moral law? Are you committing a sin by doing that? If you are, you have to boycott it. The point isn't, well, I'm going to boycott it until they come round and do something else. I'm going to say, I'm going to boycott it until they fold. I'm going to boycott it, for a month or a year until they get. No. Is this sinful? Yes, no. Are you saying that by doing this, I'm supporting something? If that's the thing, then you need to avoid buying it for yourself. If you don't want to come out and say it's a sin, if you just want to say, you know what, I prefer not to do it, then fine. Prefer not to do it, and as you say, make the commitment. This has got to be about us. This is about impacting us and what we do in our decisions and our purchasing choices so that you do turn Bud Light and the Anheuser-Busch massive empire from this giant conglomerate into, essentially, as I said, a tiny microbrewery run by a guy with a straggly beard and gauges in his ears.
Well, the beer is even not being sold in gay bars because they think that, the response by the big companies is not strong enough. So both sides are hitting Bud Light and no one's buying the beer. The thing is, there was a book, a very probably not widely read book, Rules for Retrogrades. I don't know if you've ever come across that book or not. But in that book, I'm sure most of the audience have never heard of that book, Rules for Retrogrades. Some unknown author was
some guy called Gordon, right?
Yeah, somebody named Gordon or somebody.
Yeah.
And anyway, that book is based on rules for radicals, which is really Saul Alinsky. Now, this is touching on something Dave talked about earlier. The right never, and I've heard this many times, the right can never get organized. We can never coalesce around something. We can never sustain, okay? And I believe the left is far better at this, as Saul Alinsky talks about, and you talked about Barack Obama, one of the disciples of Alinsky. And these guys understand that process, and there's an organization in there that it's not left up to the whim of the people. They are given direction. When you show up, we've already sent out the invite to 10,000 of you, and we've got bus transportation for you guys, and it's already paid for. And when you get there, there's signs already printed, and all the signs exactly say exactly what we want them to say. And all you need to do is show up at this time, and you're going to meet with this particular person, and they're going to take you to this spot, and you're going to be doing this. And when we tell you to, hold up your sign and go, hurrah. And that's what you do. And that's how minutely organized these guys are, and how meticulously they think all the way. We don't think like that. We go home, we're putting our kids to bed, or talking to the wife, or having somebody over. And these are the things that we have human lives. These guys on the left don't have human lives. When you are in the tank for gay whatever and trans whatever, and all, your conscience is bothering you, going back to the natural law, and you're fighting God, and you got the devil, he's got a straight channel to you, and you're agitated, and you're motivated, and it's not you doing that. God doesn't impinge on your free will and grab you and say, this is what you're going to do, whether you like it or not. But the devil sure does. Watch the movie Nefarious to get something like that. So that was where I would say we're stacked up against something that's far more powerful. Who said this recently was Tucker Carlson. He was talking to the Heritage Foundation. And he said he has come to this revelation that the forces that we're up against are far more than just natural, orderly forces. And therefore, you need to pray. And it was so funny because he says, and this is coming from an Episcopalian, a guy who has the most, worthless religious tradition, on the face of the earth, giving you advice that you should pray against this. And that's what we're talking about. People are starting to become aware that we're up against something that's spiritual dark. And that should actually motivate people to stand, to pray, to show up, and to not support evil when you can. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that the left does that it doesn't even fathom on our side to think about, like a sociopath, and how to look at the world like they're just little pawns in the game, vermin that we need to control.
Yeah, I like what you said there about our, people on the right, conservatives who are living ordered lives, not disordered lives. We're not social media warriors. We're not in front of a computer screen all day. We actually have families. We have normal social interactions with people. There's a time factor there. So we have to be very creative about when, where, and how we can organize. Because there's, honestly, if each of us took a look at our own lives, there's things that we could do in that regard. But we're just not going to have the time, the energy, and the money on our side to do all this stuff as well as the left's done. I mean, we have done some things. There have been some things that have been popular, at least. I mean, Target is down $12 billion in market value. That's not sales. We have to wait till the quarterly reports come out to see how that's actually has actually went. We have the social media campaigns against Bud Light. I mean, one of my favorite ones is the Kid Rock one, where he pulls out the machine guns and
local boy.
Yeah, and he starts sniping the cans of Bud Light, which I copied, by the way.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I got my kids out there. I found some old cans of Bud Light we had laying around the house. I'm not going to drink those, so we set it up in the backyard with the BB guns, and
awesome.
my kids had a great day on that. So there's stuff like that out there, and what has been the response? Well, we've seen it happen with Bud Light. Whether it's really affecting them, or whether it's probably just a chink in the armor, that remains to be seen. And Target too, it's like, should we be celebrating the fact that the stuff is still in there, the tuck-friendly swimsuits for 2-year-olds, it's still there. They just moved it to the back of the store. That's all they did. It's just not out in the front aisle caps or whatever. It's just in a different place in the store, so you can, turn a blind eye as you walk by it.
Well, what you do, you see, in these things, so you brought up the issue of like the gay bars. Apparently there's gay bars in New York, which is, I never would have thought there would be gay bars in New York. It seems such a masculine
They're not serving Bud Light either.
They're not serving Bud Light either, or they don't want to do it. And the reason the gay bars are doing it is not because, the gay bars don't like the transgenderism and stuff. I don't think they care. It's the fact that the gay bars were upset because the Bud's response to the backlash was not as forceful as it was. It's like, okay, you've waded into the culture war, and now you're trying to, oh, can I get out without either of these tigers eating me? And it's like, I'm afraid you can't. You've essentially rubbed yourself with hot dogs and walked into where the tigers are, and they're going to take a bite.
Tigers love hot dogs.
Yeah, tigers love hot dogs. Go to the zoo with a packet of hot dogs. They're the tigers. Just start throwing them over the fence. It's great. No, don't do that. Oh my gosh. People like that. I'm going to get banned from every single zoo. But you can't come as a corporation. Once you've stepped into this, you can't get out of it without losing your shirt. That's what happened with Target, with the transgender bathroom thing. It's like, okay, you've suddenly upset everyone who's not transgender. You can't back away from it. If you back away from it, every single transgender and all their supporters are suddenly upset. This whole transgender gay Bud Light thing, it's like, okay, you waded into it, you upset every single person who doesn't like the fact that Dylan Mulvaney is sitting there and affecting a high-pitched falsetto and pretending to be a teenager, and then, okay, all right, well, we want to maybe not support it quite so much. Fine, you just suddenly upset, the alphabet people juggernaut. And it's like, dude, don't weigh into the culture war. That's the lesson.
Well, I think there was a question posed earlier, though, and we're comparing the left versus the right and why they have success and why we don't. And there's another thing that needs to be added on, and I'm sick of it. It needs to be called out. It needs to be banished forever from conservative Christian circles, and that is the circular firing squad. Okay, we're rightly outraged by the outrageous conduct of, these disgusting fetishists that are mocking Christ, that are mocking the divine, that are blaspheming, that are being sacrilegious. We're rightly and justly outraged, and we're going to make our opinions known. And we're going to call out evil in no uncertain terms, and it's going to sound harsh, and it's necessarily harsh. This is a Saul Alinsky rule for radicals. It's one of his rules. It's use the gospel against Christians. Use their own rule book against them. And so that's taken in Christian circles, where now if we all sit around and we criticize and we point out the evil, the wickedness of these sisters of perpetual indulgence, you always have some nag, some scold, some finger wagger, some prig that is on their moral high horse that's like, oh, he doesn't speak for all Christians. That is not a Christian tone. It's like, will you get out? Either get in the fight or get out. You are worthless, you are hamstringing us, you're kneecapping us, and you're a problem. They don't have that on the left. They're burning down buildings, and they have solidarity, they have cohesion, they have unit cohesion, they have esprit de corps. And we don't have that because we have all these holier-than-thou nags where if you say something on the download, they're going to try and get you fired from your job at the download because they didn't like your voice. They didn't like your tone of voice. There's now this thing where there's a Christian tone, and everything we say has to be dishonest. We have to mask our outrage. We have to mask our justifiable righteous anger so that we don't take shots from people on our own side who don't have the sand, who don't have the guts to call things out for themselves and to make themselves feel better about their own cowardice. They get mad because of our delivery, of our outrage.
You're not masking your righteous anger very well. Okay.
Yeah, on that note, I just got a note. Dave Gordon will be called into the producers right after the download.
And fired. So, first of all, humiliated. But yeah, it sounds like you're channeling some of those things from, Rules for Retrogrades there. That is a good book that you might read. Some of those things like that.
Well, radicals too, like the original version of which, yeah.
So the thing is, I just have to call back to this. There are two dynamics in organizing on the left and on the right. One is grassroots. We just all kind of, how it hits us, and we all kind of come together. And like you say, not everybody's on the same note. So some of them are singing off key, and some of them are like, let's do this, and some want to be more aggressive about it, and some want a little fairy about it, and there is no cohesion. And it's all up to debate and discussion. How do you feel about this? What do you think about that? And all this level. That ain't the way it is on the left. The way it is on the left, you talk about burning down buildings and all that. George Soros goes in years ahead of time and sets DAs in the areas that he wants to have protests and riots or knows they will happen in the future. And those are the places where they have the riots where nobody's arrested. And they know that. They don't have them in Detroit where they throw the first stone. You're going to be thrown in jail right away. or say, some middle western town. You have them in the areas where you've got the George Soros DAs. Go to our website, read all about it. You can just start typing George Soros DAs, and then start seeing where all the riots and all the BLMers and all the Antifa, Oregon and all. That wasn't by chance. Years in advance, thinking like a sociopath, saying this is how we're going to strategize this, because this is when this is going to roll out. Dude, we don't have that on the right. And all we got is our righteous aggression, righteous anger that motivates us to some degree. Like you say, everybody's got brokenness to varying degrees, and some have more sensitivities than others on different that, and there is no cohesion. And on the left, it's not left to that grassroots level. It's already scripted from the top down, and this is where you guys are going to meet, show up, and express your false outrage over this. Until tomorrow, it's going to be over this. And that's the type of enemy that we're up against here on the natural, but also on the preternatural level. And that's a tough lift to beat someone like that.
So yeah, this is an interesting thing, because it's like, how do you fight a monster without becoming a monster yourself? You're saying, we don't think like sociopaths. I mean, speak for yourself, but we don't think like sociopaths. And it's like, okay, I agree that is a very effective strategy, but is the solution to start thinking like a sociopath? Is the solution to start having manufactured outrage? Is the solution to start saying, let's put DAs in so that we can have our people go do extra legal activities without, falling foul of the law?
St. Paul was never there to convert the emperor or turn Rome into a democracy or to make it into a Catholic republic per se. That was not his stated goal. His stated goal was saving souls. That is the solution for each and every one of our lives. We live in these times. We couldn't pick the day in which we live, but we got to play the hand we're dealt with. So in our day and age, this is our gymnasium, and we're all thinking about it as outward. This is serious. We're thinking about, we have to accomplish this in the material realm around us. That's what the left has. That's all they have in this day and age, is the time, material world, the theater in which they live in. Difference between a gym rat versus someone who's looking to get healthy. You want to get healthy to go out there in the world to be healthy and strong for your family and for all these other things. The gym rat there is just looking to flex muscle in the gym, walk around all puffed up. That's exactly the way the left is. I have to accomplish this little thing, one, to massage my conscience, right? That's just screaming against me, because we all have that natural law of conscience. And I'm living contrary to that, therefore I have to get everybody else on board with that. That's a huge part of their motivation. On the right, really, to live this well, you have to be seeing all this as just your gymnasium in which God is exercising you in your short period of time in life until you're going to heaven. And if you accomplish anything apart from that, God is to give us the grace and the accomplishment to bring it to fruition. Dude, that's above your pay grade. All you can do is show up as a foot soldier, and you're an accomplishment yourself to work those spiritual ways to become that saint that God called you to be in this day and age. You could have been born in 1917 Russia and you'd have the same mission. 1949 China, same mission. 2023 America with the K, right? It's still your mission. And it's never going to change. For 2,000 years, there's never been an age in the history of the world they haven't been killing Catholics or Christians, specifically because they were Christian. And it's not going to be any different. So that's actually, you got to see that first and foremost as a spiritual goal. If you don't, you're missing the whole boat.
Well, they control the Overton window is part of what we're up against. We have ceded control of what's socially acceptable to the left, and it came along with their control and dominance in the media and whatnot. So they can have athletes that are basically mouthpieces for woke, evil politics. They can have LeBron James running his prima donna yap. They can have Colin Kaepernick out there taking a knee during the national anthem because, he feels entitled and discriminated against because, somebody who was hopped up on drugs was accidentally killed by a police officer. They have that. Where are the Dodgers? Where are the Christians on the Dodgers? We have Clayton Kershaw. We don't like discrimination against this one confessional group, Catholics. I'm against discrimination in all its forms. Be quiet. That means nothing. Where are the rest of the Dodgers who want to stand up for God against not getting mocked.
They're being paid $2 million a year to hit a ball.
Well, yeah, but we hear all this big talk. First of all, I'm told athletes are strong and brave and muscular.
No, they're not. They're not. They sold themselves out for $2 million a year or $10 million a year to hit a ball. That's what.
But keep quiet.
They all think,
exactly.
They all think that they would be the ones to weather the persecutions in the early church. I can see it. Like, are you going to offer a pinch of incense? And in their fantasy, they're like, no, I'd die for Christ. But you can't even give up your plush, easy lifestyle and become a white martyr for something that's far greater, a far greater offense against God, probably than a little pinch of incense. This is people openly mocking him and celebrating a group that openly mocks God. That's worse than a pinch of incense, in my humble opinion. We can't get any Christian athlete to be like, nope, I'm on strike. Where are you? Like, can I break the fourth wall here?
There may be some. There may be some. I mean, I couldn't think of. I really don't follow, sports very much at all. I've supported the New Orleans Saints since I was 11, but I can't remember the last time I watched a game. But I support the Saints because my father supported the Saints. It's one of those things. The sins of the father lie long on a son, I think. But I don't follow sports at all, so I couldn't tell you. There may be Christian athletes out there who've done this, but the thing is all of these Christian celebrities. So you have these Christian celebrities who are out there. You've got movie stars and actors and musicians and athletes and all of these kind of people, and they go out and they're kind of a safe Christian. They're the safe kind of Christian. They're the kind of people who are coming out and who are saying, this person out there, as you said, that doesn't speak for all Christians. They're the safe Christian that you can invite to parties. They're the ones who are kind of like, smoothing the rough edges of Christianity and doing that. And you see them. You see these ones, and they get interviewed by various, Catholic publications. Some, we would call liberal Catholic publications. Some, we would say, these are much more conservative Catholic publications. They'll interview some Catholic celebrity. And it's like, hold up, you did a movie where such and such happened. You did a movie which spoke positively about homosexuality, which had these things and had all these things in it. You did that movie, you were part of that thing. How does that jive with your conduct? And of course it's like, I'm under contract and I'm this. Okay, so you stepped into the belly of the beast, and at some point you knew how many, we sat here and discussed this, how many Christians, how many people of goodwill knew what Harvey Weinstein was doing? How many of them knew about Harvey Weinstein's casting couch and all of those poor girls coming off the bus from Kansas with stars in their eyes and all of those horrible things happening to them? How many Christians and good men knew that and stood by and did nothing? And you know what? A lot of them. And that's but not just the celebrities. How many people actually out there in the general world? How many people in your family, in your churches, in the places you work, all of these things, your friends? How many of those people are people of goodwill who have stood by and done nothing in the face of these kind of things? Again, to your point, Dave, this is the pinch of incense. Right now, we don't go around and offering pinches of incense. That's not a thing that's done. But what you do is you go along to get along within society. That's the new pinch of incense. It's like it's the kids. I didn't offer the pinch of incense today. It was like, when was the last time you touched incense? Could you tell the difference between it and oregano? I doubt you could. But you know what? You have offered it nevertheless.
Yeah, we have the modern day version of idolatry, the modern day version of caving and offering to the Roman gods a pinch of incense. And I think about that, you say, where are the Christians? Where have they been on this? That's the long game right there. We talk about how the left is, playing the long game, and we on the right are simply, we have this grassroots reactionary thing, and then it fizzles out, a year later, and then we forget about it and move on to the next thing. But the left, the Soros people, they're playing the long game on this. The LA Dodgers situation has been going on for a long time too. I don't know. I mean, there's been a few players, a few Christians from the LA Dodgers that have spoken out, and I think many of them weakly. They haven't been strong about it in their responses to what's going on. But I don't know how long they have played for the LA Dodgers. But I mean, we know that for the last decade, the Pride Night has been going on for the LA Dodgers. Where have these players been for the last decade speaking out? It takes, a blasphemous event for them to kind of pipe up, and whoever's telling them to pipe up, they're like, I'm a public Catholic, I have to say something now. I don't really know, I don't want to judge their motivations, but where have they been for the past decade?
Don't know.
That's the thing.
The dodgy Dodgers.
The dodgy Dodger's been dodging responsibility. You've been wanting to make that pun.
I have wanted so bad.
Brad is a father and makes a bunch of father jokes, and he's really good at it. Anyway, thank you for joining us for this episode of The Download. As I said, it was not sponsored, but the Xmas Coffee Company, EXIMIUS, I may be mispronouncing that, but anyway, they sent us coffee, and it was really good.
I drank the whole thing.
I did too. I drank the whole thing, and normally I don't because I'm there. But that was a really nice cup of coffee. Thank you very much, guys, for sending it. Like I say, it's a Catholic company since 1925, I'm said. So they'll be celebrating 100 years pretty soon. Hey, check them out. They were there. This is your anti-boycott. Check that out. Anyway, now please let's join us as we finish in prayer, begging Our Lady's intercession for our nation and our church. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo et spes nostra salve. Ad te clamamus exules filii Eve, ad te suspiramus gementes et flentes, in hac lacrimarum vale. Ea ergo advocata nostra, illos tuos misericordes oculos ad nos converte. Et Iesum benedictum fructum ventris tui, nobis post hoc exilium ostende. O clemens, O pia, O dulcis Virgo Maria. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you again for joining us for The Download. We premiere a new episode like this every weekday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Not all of them have Dave Gordon on as the guest host. Sometimes he's just a genuine regular host. From all of us here at Church Militant, may God bless you.